The sudden scene left Jack completely stunned. He rushed forward to Dick. Seeing the worker was still breathing, he quickly called for emergency rescue. But before he could finish speaking, a loud crash came from behind him again. Jack trembled in fear. Another worker fell from a great height. As the site manager, Jack was terrified inside. But just as he was about to check, another worker suddenly fell from above. It was as if they were under some evil spell. As Jack looked up toward the roof, he saw all the workers on top jumping down. But the terrifying events kept happening. People on the streets stood frozen in place. Even worse, they began to harm themselves one after another. It was as if they had lost all reason. At first, the government thought this was a terrorist attack, so they immediately sent in large police forces to evacuate the crowd. But strange incidents continued to happen frequently. Biologists discovered it was a virus that could paralyze the nerves, and the spread of this virus was incredibly fast. Once infected, people would lose their minds and torture themselves. So far, there was no way to stop it. John quickly took his family to hide in the countryside. But their train broke down along the way. With no choice, they got off to wait for rescue. Then someone realized the area they were in was a high-risk zone for the virus. Panic spread instantly among the group. They quickly drove away from there. But halfway down the road, panicked soldiers stopped them. The soldiers told them the town ahead had completely fallen. They had no choice but to cross the forest on foot. Then a sudden gust of wind blew in, and the people walking ahead suddenly froze. One soldier suddenly pulled out his sidearm and shot himself dead. Another gust of wind blew toward the group. They ran for their lives. Soon they reached a villa. They thought the owner would take them in, but instead the man pulled out a gun and coldly killed two of their companions. John had to take his family and keep running. Luckily, they were taken in by a kind woman named Laura on the way. They thought this time they could survive the disaster. But the next day, John noticed old Laura seemed to be infected. He hurried into a room in fear, but his wife and child were still wandering outside unaware. Just then, another gust of wind began to blow. John walked toward them without hesitation. He felt that even if they died, they should be together as a family. But just as they faced death, the terrible virus suddenly vanished.